I know what you're thinking. No, this is not OJ's Bronco. This is my Ramcharger. Let's talk about it today. It's an ownership update. Let's get started.
That's not even the color of OJ's Bronco.
No. This is back in the days of the boxy SUVs. You had the Broncos, you had the Ramchargers, the K5 Blazers. This is towards the end of that era of the bigger boxy SUVs. And this was the beginning of SUVs as far as being mass produced for the masses. You can go back way in time to the Jeep Grand Wagoneers and things like that. That goes clear back into the, I don't know, 70s, 60s. This is Dodge's answer to the Chevy K5 Blazer. You guys saw a video on this not too long ago that we did. I bought this not running. We're talking about what we fixed, some of the upgrades we did, and also it's for sale. We'll get to that towards the end of the video as well. Let's take a look around this thing. The front looks like a Dodge D150. It's basically the same front end. You can see the paint on the hood is peeling pretty bad. Someone had painted it in the past. It was actually a purplish color. We'll show you when we open the doors. But it is faded to black, like Metallica says, and it's starting to peel pretty bad. It was not a very good paint job, I don't think. It does have some Jetson Revenger ATs. I've never even heard of that brand, and these tires probably need to be replaced. They're pretty old. As you can see as we go down, the paint fading on the side is not so bad, but definitely on the roof it is really bad. It's turning white, in fact, up there. Around the back you can start to see it has like a bass boat glitter purplish paint job. It's very dark purple. We have some brand new tail lights we've installed. The old ones were cracked and looking pretty bad. These are the years of these being fiberglass. This whole thing is fiberglass. It's not metal. And on this side it has more of the peeling paint. The body's in pretty decent shape. It's not seriously rusted or anything. The underneath is also not seriously rusted. Another selling point on this is these wheels. They were kind of an upgrade during these years. It's kind of 8-hole, kind of aluminum alloy wheel. They're really nice. They're in good shape. No hood struts on these. Good old hinges with springs, and they don't fail and they don't droop. They last for decades. Here is our 5.2 liter 318 cubic inch V8. I think it's like 140 or 160 horsepower. It's not very much, but it runs amazingly. It can set out here on the side of the building for 6 or 8 weeks. And then I go to start it, and it starts on the first turn every single time. It runs very, very well. AC works, heater works. The automatic transmission shifts great. No slipping or no issues there. And as you can see, it's stock. It's not been modified. It hasn't had some kid get in here and put Mugen parts all over it. It's just like it was when it left the factory. It even has a work light that's operational. You guys remember we just did Eurasian Bob's Sierra GT that had the work light you could pull out on basically on a wire and move around the whole engine bay. And this one does the same thing. You can dislodge it and move it around wherever you're working. And it works. The hood insulation is intact. It's not drooping or coming apart, which is difficult to find on these older trucks anymore. You can see it has cruise control, and yes, it does work. Right in through here you can see a bunch of relays and wires. That was all messed up when I received the vehicle. I reworked it, put a new relay, and it's all happy again. But it wouldn't start when it arrived, when I took possession of it. Is it wise to buy a vehicle that doesn't run? It is if you know what you're doing and you're a very experienced mechanic. You can work through it, and even if you have to put a good used engine, you can do so without paying a shop to do it. If you're having to pay a shop to do everything because you're not really a wrench person, no, it's not worth the gamble. You could get it and find out it needs $4,000 worth of work, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have never bought this thing. But it would turn over. I could hear the compression. I knew that at least it had good compression. I could hear that much. So what went wrong with this? Why wouldn't it start? On the previous video we go over this, but I'll kind of recap it for you guys. We checked relays, we checked all this, and we found out after actually quite a while, the fuel return hose going back to the tank was completely blocked off. It had, I don't know, a BB or something in it. So when the fuel pump would kick on, we were expecting to see 15 psi, 20. This is a TBI unit. It doesn't operate at 50 psi or something. It's only low, 12, 14, 15. We were looking for that number and we were seeing 70. It was just dumping, just flooding the hell out of it every time you tried to start it. We're like, well, why is it so high? Finally, Danielson kind of took a look at it. He tried to blow air through the return line. It wouldn't even blow. Once we got that cleared, it was a small BB, a little piece of metal or something. It started and ran. Perfect. So we took a gamble and it paid off on that. Let's let you guys look at the interior. Take it away, Mrs. Wizard.
Okay, ladies, gents, so this 35-year-old beast has 134,803 miles on it, and, well, it's earned some of them. The interior is going to look okay today, especially since it is 35 years old and made with a lot of plastic. And the dash, other than needing a nice coating of some sort of treatment up there, maybe like an Armor All type product, it could look very nice. Nothing is broken. All the little louvers are there in our vents. Has the stock cassette player. I love the button here for the rear defrost. It's so big next to everything else around it, all by his lonesome. Nice. As we move down, you'll see we have some Velcro, not sure what that held up. We have our ashtray, which has some nice wood screws, and they're nice. I like that. They actually may have been stock at that point in time, though. But still there, still slides. As we move down, you'll see that we do have some staining on the carpet, which is understandable. Again, it's a 35-year-old, utilitarian SUV. We do see our range selector for the four-wheel drive system, and we have the very big center console area. We lift up. Oh, there's some a little day planner from 1990 in here. Gosh. As we thumb through it, nothing was going on in 1990 for the person who had this because they marked nothing in their calendar. We'll put that back in there for the next person. The seats are cloth, and Wizard has said that he has had Junior Mint kind of work on the bottom, weld some stuff on the bottom to make them to where they're not so wobbly. They are much firmer now in here. They're not going to, well, at least take you out when there's an accident. Door card, well, we have the gray and the light gray there, and everything is looking pretty good. See a little bit of foam spilling out of that armrest, but nothing too bad. And here, there it is. There's the glitter. Isn't that just sexy? Yeah, couldn't you imagine this whole thing painted like that? I would have loved to have seen that, but now we only get the nice, beautiful glitter paint in the interior where it was protected. The very big bench back seat is looking good. I don't see any rips or tears. It's looking nice. The headliner, well, it's looking okay until we get to a seam here that needs to have some adjusting as well. But other than that, again, a 35-year-old car. It does have some issues, especially when this guy has, well, who knows how long he sat not running. Here we are back at that steering wheel, and amazingly, this steering wheel is in great shape. I've seen so many where the top part is all blistered and nasty and gross. This probably needs some nice cleaning, but at least it's not peeling apart. It's looking like it's in decent condition. And in the center, we have the nice Dodge Star in the center. So enough of this interior talk. Let's see what's going on underneath.
One upgrade we did was that what's very common on these years of Rams and Ram Chargers is the steering shaft has like a little universal joint that just gets very floppy, and you can have almost 1/8 of a turn of play in it. It's almost dangerous. We've actually upgraded it to a much better shaft. I'll show you what it looks like. You can see it's a nice solid steel piece with a correct U-joint. All the play is now gone out of this, and it steers very, very nicely. So all of our lifts are full right now, and that one we really can't make the angle. We've got the Fiat in the way. There's a whole bunch of cars in the way that really can't move right now. So guess what, Mrs. Wizard?
What?
We're on the ground again.
Oh no.
Let's get down. So here at the back driver's side, you can see that the floor is all intact. There's no serious rust. It's not rotten. No cancerous stuff going on. It's real bad. It's all intact. All of these structural pieces are usually rusted out on these. And then on the engine, so you can see the engine oil pan is all nice and dry. As we move back, the transmission pan and everything there is nice and dry as well. See, our transfer case is also not leaking. We greased the greaser on the U-joint. You can see a little bit of grease there. It does have new exhaust going back with a glass pack. Sounds very good, nice and quiet. Differential's not leaking either, and you can continue to see that the floor pan and everything is rust free. That's a very good selling point on this vehicle, is the lack of body rust. So have I done a good job to sell this? I'm just trying to be honest to tell you guys, if anyone wants to purchase this, what you're getting into. It does need a paint job, it does need some work here or there, the interior kind of cleaned up, and it needs work, but it runs, it drives, the AC works, the heater works. You saw the underside, it's not all rotten and rusted out. That right there is leaps and bounds above 90% of these that are for sale. We're asking $6,000 for this 1990 Ram Charger, and before you say that's too much, I've been scouting around, and there are some on Marketplace that are for $5,500 that the tires are blown out and hasn't ran in 10 years, non-drivable for $5,500. They're kind of becoming a collector's item. So $6,000 for this one. It runs, it drives. It really doesn't need a lot mechanically. The overdrive works, the cruise control works, all those things work. You really can't beat that price. I just like to see it go to somebody who could use it. So I wanted to do a video, kind of an update of where we're at with this. We've got everything up and running. We got the steering shaft fixed, got a few other things fixed, tail lights, and now it's ready for sale. Let's go ahead and start it up and show you how quick it starts up. All right, here we go, guys. No special procedures or anything to try and start it. It just always starts. In fact, over the winter, it had snowed. We needed to move it. I thought, this thing ain't going to start. The battery's probably dead. And Junior Mint went out and fired it up. It turned over one time, just like you just heard. It was 0 degrees outside, and it just fired right up. It always fires right up. I'm just amazed by it. I've had some pretty old cars in the past, and they didn't start like this thing does. It always starts. So when I acquired this, I did what a lot of people used to do on Craigslist. It's called trading up. We had Mrs. Wizard Z3, and it was worth, I don't know, $5,000 or something like that. And I saw this opportunity that I could flip this, maybe make a little more extra money. I took a non-running Ram Charger and made it fully drivable again. It's happy, it drives very, very well. So why am I selling it? Mrs. Wizard has a 2024 Land Rover Defender 90. It can go anywhere we could ever want or ever dream of. I really don't need this anymore. It'd be fun to take this off-road and go on some trails, but it's a little bit big and boxy for me. I like smaller vehicles you can kind of weave in and get in and around. When I was in the Army, I did a lot of mudding in an old 70s Bronco I had. It was wide, boy, like this thing is. And there would be places where there's trees right along the trails. And the guys that had smaller Broncos and Explorers and things, they just went right through. And then here I come with my big bazunga of a Bronco, just scraping the trees. And so, from my experience, I like a smaller off-road vehicle. Even a Jeep Wrangler or something would be nice. This is a little bit large for me. So here it is. We did a video, show you guys some of the no muffler Newton, guys, I'm telling you. Every day. So we did a video for you guys to give some updates on where we're at with this Ram Charger and that it is for sale. If you guys are interested in buying it, contact Crazy D in the office. He handles all the sales and does all those things. It won't be anything that I handle through email or anything. He takes care of all of it for me. And if you're curious what kind of tools we use to figure out what was wrong with this and get it fixed, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because there's so many more videos to come. Thanks for watching.